answer, my friend, is blowing in the wind. The answer is blowing in the wind. How many years can a mountain exist before it's washed to the sea? Yes, and how many years can some people exist before they're allowed to be free? Yes, and how many times can a man turn his head, pretending he just doesn't see? The answer, my friend, is blowing in the wind. The answer is blowing in the wind. How many times must a man look up before he can see the sky? Yes, and how many ears must one man have before he can hear people cry? Yes, and how many deaths will it take till he knows that too many people have died? The answer, my friend, is blowing in the wind. The answer is blowing in the wind. The answer, my friend, is blowing in the wind. The answer is blowing in the wind.
So a few years ago, my sister turned 40. And she said, Scott, the whole world ends when you turn 40. And I said, sis, my 40th birthday is December 21st, 2012. The entire world says it's going to end on my 40th birthday. She went, oh. Now, because I've got something in common with the day, I've studied it maybe a little more than most, but there have been thousands of predictions of the world ending, dating back as long as we've got recorded history. But why are so many people paying attention to December 21st, 2012? Several different reasons, I think. I'll share with you my thoughts. You can draw your own conclusions. The first, December 21st, 2012, is astrologically speaking and astronomically speaking, the Earth and our solar system will be in the very center of our galaxy, and this happens only once every 26,000 years. That's fact. What that's going to do, what effect that's going to have on the planet, that's up for speculation. Geologists say that the Earth is in a wobble, a 26,000-year wobble, that winds down and stops December 21st, 2012. Also science. So the astronomy folks, who really don't interact a whole bunch with the geology folks, are all saying major events happen on this same day. Now you correlate that with the Mayan calendar coming to an end on December 21st, 2012. Now when you look at the Mayan calendar, it's a goofy thing. It's really cool the way that they've done it, but imagine a circle, like the days of the week almost, inside of another circle, that's all on a really big long line. So every day this whole thing turns and it lines up different ways, and each of these three different circles have a different energy to it. And so you can look back through history at significant dates and correlate that with the Mayan calendar and see just, wow, that energy was pretty dead on, that energy was pretty dead on. Well, their calendar, the big wheel that rolls along that big line, has gone through 7 timelines, 7 done along this big long line, and the very end of that line is December 21st, 2012. So this obviously also gets some other folks thinking, the Mayans could predict lunar eclipses and solar eclipses thousands of years ago to the exact day. They knew more about astronomy and astrology than any civilization prior to maybe ours. And they didn't have satellites and computers. So we tend to look at these folks because everything that's written has been so accurate. And so we correlate that it happens to end right on December 21st, 2012. Along with the astrology folks, along with the astronomy folks, along with the geology folks. And then we look at some of our prophets, and we see Nostradamus was talking quite a little bit about right around this time period. Now we look at some other folks like Albert Einstein. Albert Einstein said that 4 years after the bees start to disappear, life on this planet will change dramatically. And in 2008, a whole bunch of bees started disappearing and nobody knew where they went. Still don't. And that was 2008, so 4 years later, 2012, here we are. Now, with all of those things, that's where people start to extrapolate. They start to say, well, wait a second, if the poles were to shift because this wobble stops and it goes south of the universal equator that might shift the magnetic poles at the same time that the wobble is stopping, what might that do? I don't know. And because they don't know, they start to give theories. Well, you know, the Earth's crust could do this, it could do that, could do these things and those things. From a gravitational standpoint, the astronomy and the astrology folks, they look at it and they go, wow, that's a pretty big deal. What's it going to do? Well, we don't know. Well, then you get a whole bunch of other folks jumping on board and they say, well, hey, wait a second, December 21st, 2012, that's when the Anunnaki said that Planet X Niobrara is supposed to smack the world, the planet, or come really, really close. So it's either supposed to skate by or it's supposed to smack into us like the dinosaur age. Now, my problem with that is there's thousands and thousands of thousands of people looking up at the sky with telescopes. It's only a few weeks away and ain't nobody seen it. But they hold true that that's their belief that it's going to happen on that day. Other folks say that that's the day that ET is going to show up and phone home. Maybe. I don't know. We'll see. Now, to look at this from a different perspective, a broader perspective, instead of a natural disaster perspective, now with the folks who subscribe to each of those theories, they say it's not like a light switch. It's not like everything's normal on December 21st, 2012, boom, it rains down all this hellfire and brimstone on us. That it's a gradual thing, just like the December 21st of every year is the longest night of the year, and June 22nd, 21st is the longest day of the year, and it gets longer and longer and longer, and then it gets shorter and shorter and shorter. And so some folks say that with all this stuff has been already ramping up, and that's why we've had increased weather events, increased things like that, that earthquakes of note in 2008 were like 300, and it's increased like 100. 2012, there's been over 700 earthquakes of note, and so it has been ramping up over the last 3 or 4 years at least. Now those folks say that it crescendos up, and then it'll crescendo down and start to go find its new normal again. Again, just thoughts, things that are out there, things that folks are saying, and what the data suggests that puts in there. But I look at things from obviously we're in church, from a spiritual perspective of what does this really mean, what does this mean to us, and what can we do and what can we not do, and all these kind of things. So when you look back throughout time, starting about 4,000 years ago, we entered the age of Taurus. The sun comes up, it's in the house of Taurus, and it stays in each of these houses for about 2,000 years. Now, inside the house of Taurus, Taurus is the bull and all this stuff. When we look back at us as a people, about 4,000 years ago, was right around the time of the birth of all of the Greek gods, all of the Roman gods, all of these different gods, all the polytheism stuff was going on. The Jewish religion, the Old Testament, the Torah. And when you read the Old Testament, you go, wow, that's part of my book. They did mean stuff. You lied to somebody, you got rocks thrown at you until you died, and you had blood for this and blood for that. And you read that Old Testament, you go, wow, not sure that's the God that I know so much. But the folks who are really into that Old Testament stuff are the Jewish folks, because that's the Torah, that's their Bible. They don't accept the second half, the New Testament. And when you look at a lot of the symbology in the Jewish religion, it still has the bull horn for this, the bull horn for that. It's still tied into that age of Taurus. Now we look at a couple thousand years ago when Moses went up on the mountain and he came down with the tablets, and here's the new laws, and he was really all kinds of grouchy because they were worshiping all of these idols of bulls and cows, golden cows and golden bulls, and he was really growly because he said, we're not in the age of Taurus anymore. We're in the age of Pisces, the age of the fish. And here came this carpenter who fed people with fish, and he picked up fishermen, and he said, and when you see all the Jesus symbols, they've got a fish on them, and all this stuff, and the Pisces symbol is a couple of fish. This is the time of the fish. Well, that lasts about 2,000 years also. Well, gosh, where are we at? About 2,000 years since he walked on the planet in physical form. Now, the new age that's coming in is the age of Aquarius. The age of Aquarius is the water bearer. When you see it, it's a beautiful lady who's got a pitcher of water, and she's pouring the water out. And so we can look at the age of the bull and the age of the fish, and now the age of Aquarius. Now, again, there's different speculation. Some folks believe that the age of Aquarius started about 1940, 1950, and that's where we started to see a major shift in how we lived and our daily lives and technology and all these things. Other folks said that the year 2000, because that was 2,000 years to the dot, then that marked the age of Aquarius, and other folks suggest that it's this planetary alignment associated with December 21st, 2012 that ushers in this new age, the age of Aquarius. And in the age of Aquarius, it's all about sharing, it's all about giving, it's all about beauty, it's pouring the water out. It's not stingily holding the water, it's pouring it out, it's allowing your gifts to flow, and these sort of things. Now, during the age of the fish, astrologically speaking, that's where we needed other people to think for us. I'm going to come to church and the minister's going to tell me what to think. That doesn't fly so much anymore. In the age of the water, right, in the age of Aquarius, is like, I'm going to check stuff out, I'm going to decide what I think. You don't need to tell me what to think, I'm going to decide. When we have a problem, when we want to figure something out, we go online, we go to libraries, we do research, we say, I've come up with my own opinion, my own thoughts. I'm thinking for myself. It's coming into that age of Aquarius feeling. Now, when we look at this shift that happens right and around December 21st of this year, some folks point to the book of Revelations, and it says there's a lot of little telltale signs in there that you'll know you're getting close to the end when this stuff's coming. The army will be of 200 million people. Well, China just said recently that their army, their combined military, is now up to 200 million people. That there would be wars and threats of more wars, and all of which, you can watch the news and see that's going on. And so there's all this stuff that's going on from that. Now, if we were to look at, let's say, the book of Revelations, one of the things that it talks about is prior to the end of the world, as we know it, would come a rapture, where everyone who would rise up would go and live in heaven, go live on this new earth. And all the folks who hadn't risen up, well, stuff was going to get kind of ugly for those folks, because they were still working through stuff. From a new thought or new age perspective, one of the things that we work on is raising our vibration, is raising it up and raising it up and raising it up and getting to higher vibrational frequencies inside of our lives. And we do that by living right, by living in accordance to our own conscience, and living in accordance with something that we'd be happy to stand in front of God and say, hey, here's what I did with what you gave me. We do it through expanding our mind and expanding our energy and unlocking our gifts and opening our hearts and being there for each other in amazing ways. This raises our vibration. And then we see some other folks, some other of God's kids that are just like trapped in this little mouse in this maze, running through the same petty stuff that consumed them 10 years ago. And we pray for them, and we do whatever we can to help them as much as they'll let us help. And when we look inside at our own inner struggles, the things that have kept us locked into our old behavior patterns and our old thought patterns that we don't like, it doesn't even feel comfortable, and we ask for help, and we ask God, and we ask our guides, and we ask our friends and our family to help us to rise above those things. Now, there are some people that postulate from a quantum physics perspective that there are multiple realities going on all at the same time, and that's the only way that quantum physics makes sense with string theory, M theory, etc. Now, those folks, combining these theories, say that around the time of December 21st, 2012 is when there's a dimensional shift, if you will, where it'd be like if the Earth begins to not split, but duplicate. And this one is going on this very positive, upbeat, cool path of we're done with things like war, and we're done with things like money, and we're done with things like this, and we're into the things that really make our heart sing. And then this other Earth is kind of following this other trajectory, and that's, you know, the old paradigm stuff. Money and power and stuff. And that both of these realities are going to coexist. And the folks who have risen their vibration are going to be in more a vibrational frequency with this one, so they're going to be more locking into that reality. And the folks on the lower vibration end, they're going to be over here locked into that reality because that's what they understand, that's where they're at. Either way, what I would say is this. The one constant on this planet, the one constant in this universe is change. We're always changing. And thank goodness we're always changing. Because if we just continually relived yesterday, how boring would that be? I look at these things, this entering of this new age, whether it's the end of an era on a Mayan calendar, the end of an era, astrologically speaking, going from the era of the bull for 2,000 years, the era of the fish for 2,000 years, and now the age of Aquarius for the next 2,000 years. We're in the embarking of changing a global consciousness. When you look back in history and you read the history books of what was going on a couple thousand years ago, when we were changing from the age of the bull to the age of the fish, there was a lot going on. And we can see inside of people, inside of the way that as a planet, God's kids think, went through a massive shift when it changed from the bull to the fish. We can look around now and see a massive shift as it's shifting from the fish to the Aquarius. The question is not if change is going to happen. I believe that many of these doomsday things were based on a collective choice of God's kids and the vibrational frequency that we held. And I don't believe that it's as of today, let me go be saved. You know, let me raise my vibration. It's not so much that, although that's important. It's stuff it's shifts that we started 5 years ago, and we started 10 years ago, that have already been ramping up and already affecting our reality. Everything in quantum physics says what I think, what I believe, how I feel changes and affects the reality that I live in. On a microcosm scale, we can see that inside our own lives. When we think negative, 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 our world tends to go to poop. When we think positive, 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 and we're feeling it, we're living it, then our world seems to get better and better and better. Now that's as an individual, as a collective in this room, as a collective in this country, as a collective on this planet. I believe there have been enough people raising their vibration continually over the last several weeks, months, years, and even decades to have avoided most of these natural disaster type things that were said to have happened, or said to be scheduled to happen here in a couple weeks. Now, if the world were going to end on December 21st, 2012, then we would have no need at all to buy Christmas presents.
Or birthday presents.
Or birthday presents. You know, I think that December 22nd is going to be a pretty cool day. We're going to look around and go, wow, we're still here. But which here are we in? Which reality are we shifting into? I think that for all of us, it's a time of reflection right now to look inside and to see what negative old patterns, what things in our reality, in our life right now bring us down that we don't like. When you take an inventory of your own life, what's the stuff that you don't dig? And what steps can you do to make less of those things? I'm not even talking about eliminating completely, just making a little less and a little less and a little less. And what things in your life bring you joy, because joy and love are the highest vibration. So what things in your life do you love, and how can you bring just a little more of that, and a little more of that, and a little more of that, and a little more of that into your life? This is the difference between high and low vibration. Well, right now, if the folks who talk about these two different earths shifting as this age of Aquarius comes in, if we can do these little things, or maybe big things, to make less of the stuff we don't want and more of the stuff we do want, and be more in touch with the feeling of love and less in touch with the feeling of fear, then one, we are better individuals. We feel more alive. We feel more us too. We're more connected with God, who is love. And three, we're shifting our vibrational frequency over to this side of the collective positive reality. Now, we can watch TV, we can watch the news, we can say, ooh, look, the whole world is pretty well locked into this one over here. And we'll pray for them. And we'll pray for them. Because nobody needs to go through that. And anybody can wake up. And together, we can help shift into this more positive one over here. Now, what do the next 2,000 years look like? I don't know. But it is a really amazing time to be alive right now, because we're right on that cusp. Whether you believe that the age of Aquarius started in the 1940s or 50s, the year 2000, December 21st, 2012, or some folks put the timeline all the way to about 2100. Either way, we're right in that shift. And either way, just like the days getting shorter and shorter and shorter, and then longer and longer and longer, right? It's all in that, it peaks, it crescendos. And that crescendo is coming here in a couple weeks. So the energies that we may feel may be ramped up or amped up compared to what we're used to feeling. And that's okay. Because that brings about the change that we've wanted but didn't know how to get. So all of the thoughts and all of the theories and all of the concepts that may be coming, that may be part of their December 21st, 2012 theories of what may or may not happen, I believe we are not helpless victims waiting to see if we're smited off the face of the earth. Or I believe that we do have the power inside, the power of free will, choice, and love, to embrace A or B and to shift our reality accordingly to the one that we are most in alignment with. God is good. Change is good. And I believe the age of Aquarius will be extremely good also. I invite you to make up your own mind, to have your own thoughts, your own opinions, come to your own conclusions, and see what makes sense to you on the outside world and on your inside world. And to take whatever action you deem appropriate for you. And if you'd like help with any of these choices, any of these things, this is what we come together as a family for. So that none of us have to do the heavy lifting on our own. We have God's help, our guides and angels, and each other. We're happy to pray, to send energy, to help everyone to make this shift over to this side that wants to. Because according to quantum physics, we're actually going to be in both realities. There'll be an us in this one and an us in that one. It's not like we just raise up and float away and we're in this one and none of the bad people are there. It's not that. We're all in this one and we're all in this one, but it's which one are we locked into? I look forward to this reality over here. I feel like we're already in the process of co-creating it, have been for quite a while. And I look forward to my birthday, but I also look forward to this crescendo finally reaching its absolute climax, that we can then start to get back to some kind of life as normal, instead of every year is, whoa, it's a little more nuts, a little more nuts. I look forward to having the wind at my back, sailing down with all you guys, going, whee! With that, we'll turn the time over to Mary.